Are you a thoughtful leader? Maybe you are. Maybe you think you are. Let's find out. I'm Mindy Gibbins-Klein. I'm author of The Thoughtful Leader and host of the Thoughtful Leader podcast. Thoughtful leadership is all about thought leadership that goes above and beyond. Thought leadership that is truly new and original, exciting, disruptive, maybe even groundbreaking. Because let's face it, we need to raise the bar. My guests and I are absolutely obsessed with finding truly original thought leadership, and I'm going to bring you so many exciting ideas and opportunities, things for you to think about, and chances for you to push your thinking that you'll be very glad you tuned in. So thanks so much for checking out Thoughtful Leadership and the Thoughtful Leader podcast. I look forward to connecting with you very, very soon. Welcome to the show. My guest today is the amazing thoughtful leader, Hela Wozniak-Kay. Hela, welcome.
Well, Mindy, thank you very much indeed for inviting me onto your show. I feel truly honored.
And I called you a thoughtful leader. And as many of the listeners know, we're not allowed to call ourselves thoughtful leaders because that's a bit naff. However, it's really great if our market or our introducer calls us one. So I bestow that title on you.
I'm truly honored to be called a thoughtful leader, and I will take that graciously.
So you're doing a lot of thoughtful things, and you have been since we first met more than 10 years ago. So I'd love for you to share with our viewers and listeners where you play. What kind of work are you up to in the world?
Well, leadership is indeed quite a big subject. And I think initially, way back when I started, maybe I was a bit of a reluctant leader before I felt comfortable enough to step into those shoes. However, next February on the 4th, I will be celebrating 20 years of connecting outrageously remarkable women in business. And I refer to the business that I run as a tribe. So if you are running a tribe, then I'm kind of feeling that you need to be a leader in order to be running that tribe. So my kind of raison d'etre, my reason for being, is to create an ecosystem where that's a magnet for like-minded female founders, business owners, and enable them to connect. But in order to create the right ecosystem, the right platform, the right stage, then you need to give them a reason to gravitate towards you, a reason to kind of follow certain footsteps, certain behaviors. So from my perspective, I think a thoughtful leader should be very clear about their values, their traits, their way of being. You know, branding is woven into that, but your brand reflects your style of leadership. And, you know, in the playground, maybe I was a bit of a bossy girl. So I've had to work out how not to be a bossy girl, but to actually demonstrate and, well, really kind of show imaginative ways of leadership. So I guess that's where I am. I think leadership requires imagination, and it requires, although I'm attracting like minds, I've got to be aware of all those that come towards the tribe, because not everybody, you know, we are not Stepford Wives, we're all individuals. However, there are certain common threads, you know, like the members are adventurous, you know, they're imaginative, they're insightful, they've got great knowledge and know-how, they're experts in their field, but also they're into sharing. So if we take what you do, you know, the thoughtful leader, and I've already, you know, since you parachuted in, learned such a lot about the way that you approach leadership.
You are definitely leading a tribe, and you're doing it very imaginatively, very creatively. Listeners and viewers, if you have not connected with Hela, connect with her, follow her, look at her Instagram posts, because you are one of the most creative people I've ever met, to be honest. It's why you're on the show. So there's leadership and there's leading by example, which you do very well. And I love what you say about not being bossy, because if there's a spectrum of leadership, I think the thoughtful leader is has got a balance, or maybe, isn't too far along the spectrum in either direction. So it's not about being bossy, but it's not about being a doormat either. It's leading with conviction and flair and all those things you do very well. So I'll stop complimenting you for a moment just to ask you a few more questions, because I like asking my guests the same kinds of questions, a little bit provocative. In this case, we really want to hear about something that happened that you're now looking back and thinking, that wasn't really very good either. You can call it a mistake, an error of judgment, or just some bad luck. And tell us how you dealt with it. Can you think of something in the past few years that was a big challenge? Let's call it a challenge.
Well, there are many I think it's like there's a daily challenge. But if I'm thinking of a really big one, it's really quite interesting that something that kind of springs to mind is way back before Sister Snog. Together with my business partner, Annie, we ran a boutique branding consultancy. So that would, whether it was a blank canvas or it was a brand that, needed a complete makeover. And we were a little bit, perhaps naive 20 years ago. I'm not saying I'm superbly not naive anymore, but I was more naive in those days. And when you're running a business, you kind of also, when you have clients, you need to take a leadership position with the clients as well. But because a firm of solicitors came to us, it was quite a small firm. And I guess we both allowed our egos and the excitement of rebranding a very, very small firm. And it was there were just a few male partners, but there were no kind of women. But we came in and we had a process in order to, distill a brand personality, come up with the values. And also, I guess as well, it was perhaps one of our first big grown-up pieces of business. And we went through the processes and they went along up to a point until one day, after we presented the document and the findings, sacked us because they didn't feel that what we delivered was what they were looking for. However, it was what they were looking for, but the issue was we didn't at the outset set out the perimeters of what was going to be delivered. We just thought they would just go along with as everybody else had. And we had, great successes. And it was kind of quite a blow because I didn't really know how to deal with it at that particular moment. And neither parties, I think they just wanted a tactical solution as opposed to something that started strategically and then went tactically. And even to this day, that is well over 20 years ago. And it was a challenge that took us quite a long time to get over. However, it was a great lesson. And I think for anybody, whatever you're doing in your business, we do get very excited about the sale. But we need to respect ourselves and what we're doing and make sure that we are also leading the client and that you do a lot of work at the outset before you sign anything so that the parameters are really clear. And I think that's what good leaders do. They set boundaries and parameters so that there are not too many outrageously unexpected surprises that you weren't anticipating. So that's what sprang to mind as it was just one of those, random questions. I can't believe I even thought of it. I'm sure I haven't thought of it for 20 years.
It's obviously still there, which is good because like you say, you learn and it's there in the beginning of your career as a business owner. And hopefully you can reflect on that and be more thoughtful. I'm sure you are. I'm sure that informs some of the other communications that you have and interactions with people. So let's stick with the people theme for a moment, because you've spoken about leading clients. You've spoken about leading the tribe. How do you lead yourself through your life? What would you say your best tips are for someone listening or watching?
Well, I'm quite an interesting being to be leading myself, but I do lead myself because I suffer from too many ideas, and I always have an idea about something. And if you have too many ideas and you want to do them all, you will have overwhelm, because you want to go here and you want to go there and everything's shiny and everything's doable. So I am a great list maker. And I do that every single day. I get up very early. You will fall off your chair, but I'm a 5 o'clock riser. And, you know, as they say, the early bird. So between 5 and 8 o'clock, I use that as my time to think about what really does need to be done. You know, I'm not going to put all the ideas into a pot and say I'm never going to go there, but there are things that have to be done today, and you need to understand what they are, because if, you know, it's kind of like Eat the Frog, and that's a great book. If you haven't read it, then I suggest that you do. As Mark Twain said, you know, if you eat a frog as the first thing you do every day, it won't turn into a toad. And you've got the big thing. It might be something like admin is not my favorite subject, and I will avoid admin over anything. But once the admin is done, you know, it's not always admin that's the frog. I think it's really important as well to make sure that you have a clear goal about where you're going. You know, there's the 12-week year. Again, another great book that's worth looking at, because you can squeeze, or if you're organized, get in a 12-week year, you can accomplish as much as you could in a 12-month year, because we're all great procrastinators. And I talk about shiny objects and delicious distractions. And I think you've got to be allowed those. You know, I'm not a Puritan living. I'm always give myself some time, you know, at least half an hour a day to look at something, to read something, to, you know, do a TED talk, not do one, but watch one. I don't do a TED talk every day, but, you know, be inspired by other leaders, because if you don't, you can be very tunnel vision and you're not expanding your mind. You know, we are sponges, and I am a great sponge. So I guess that's one of the reasons I am drawn to people and drawn to finding out about them and what can they teach me, as much as what can I teach them if they'd like to know.
That's so wise. That wisdom has come from living it, from following your passion, from really being an excellent people person. And hopefully a lot of the people listening to us now can relate to aspects of this. I'm not sure I would agree when you said we're all great procrastinators. We all put things off. Maybe that's the same thing. But I'm being thoughtful about this and thinking I don't procrastinate so much as either have too much on my list, like what you're saying, or if there's a fear or uncertainty or doubt about something, it gets shoved to the back burner in favor of something that's more certain. Does that ring true for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, you know, tarnishing everybody or saying everyone's a procrastinator, but there are things that you will do ahead of others which give you more joy and more delicious. And I suppose it links to that whole idea about the frog that could become a toad, that then becomes the thing that, you know, makes you feel a bit wobbly and you don't even want to look at it and you can hide it. You know, it's all about facing up, because I think that's what great leaders do, is they face the challenge. They pick up the phone, they'll have the difficult conversation, you know, they will make sure X and Y and Z is done. And they're also aware of their own foibles. You know, we're all different beasts, and we have, you know, certain traits that are stronger in us. And I always seek the advice of others, because I think way back, I kind of, as well as maybe being a bit bossy in the playground, I was a bit right. And
we know it all in our 20s, and then then you realize you don't know anything, right?
Exactly. And now that I'm about to, I'm in my last year of my teenage renaissance of my 50s. So next year I will be in my diamond decade. And the wise woman, I'm a great listener. It's not that I'm always, wanting to talk. In fact, I listen a lot. And as I get to know the members of Sister Snog, I find out a lot, and I'm told a lot because I'm interested. You need to be interested and interesting with a few little sort of, sprinkles and sparkles, and give a bit of yourself. Leaders do need to show that they have a human side. And in fact, there's a really good, I do read a lot of books. It's called the Athena Doctrine. And it was a study of like the top Fortune 500 companies to find out within the boardroom what the decision-making process trends are. And what came out is that soft power is on the agenda. So it's okay to be a bit vulnerable. It's okay to be kind. It's okay. You don't have to be, boom, boom, boom. You can be yourself. And it's for women and men who kind of think like women as well. We're all changing the way that we think, and there's a molding there. So that's my answer.
Wow. And you totally epitomize that. You're a great example of somebody who is seeking out other people and their ideas and opinions, listening to them. You've got that creativity going on all the time. But as I've observed you, and listeners, you really want to follow this woman because she has got great, exciting, creative ideas. I'm allowed to say it, thoughtful ideas. So the thing is, it's not about the ideas, because many people have ideas all day long. It's what you do with them, how you share them. And again, it comes back to that spectrum. I'm glad you said soft power, which I think we may use as the title for this episode. So thank you for that. I'm always looking for a gem or listening out for a gem. And that's you all over. That's, when I picture, actually, this is where I want to take the conversation. When I picture you and the way you dress, your style, to use that word that you've used, you have a style. Do you think everybody has a style? And the second part of that is, how do you feel sharing your style with the world?
That's a very good question about the word style. I would like to say that I do think everyone has their own style, but I'm not convinced that everyone has discovered their own style. Just as an example, when I got married many moons ago, it'll actually be 30 years next year, OMG, and I had 11 bridesmaids, and they're all individual. And I said to them, this is the colour, this is the material, and I want you to go and make whatever you want, apart from not dungarees, because I don't really mind. I don't mind what you wear, skirt, dress, it could even be a trouser suit, whatever you want. So, and there was a style of shoes, 3 different heels, high to low, and then pearl earrings of whatever description you wanted to do that. And there were 11 different bouquets of flowers. So on the morning when I opened the door, as ding dong, oh, it's another bridesmaid, I had no idea what they would be wearing, but I trusted them enough to know that they would create their individual style within my kind of guidelines. And so I do think we should, explore what we look good in, what we feel good in. That's the key. It doesn't matter what everybody else is saying. You have got to feel good in your own style. And that's why I'm a great sort of, I love stylists. They can help. Just as, if you need to have, someone to help with your brand, go to a brand strategist. If you're looking for someone to do your finances, get a finance director. So I'm a great one. I haven't ever actually been to a stylist, because I've in my head always known what I like. And my style lives in the pre-loved world of charity shops. And I would say 90% of my wardrobe is all from charity shops, but I know what I like, and I like themes. So I will throw myself into the theme. So a few people have asked to go shopping with me, and I've done that, but I can't magic up their outfit. I can only magic up my own. So it's not something I'm going to go and do. And I have tried it, but I think you have to find out your own style. That would be my, but discover it because it's there. So the answer is yes, everyone does.
You definitely have a style, and it's very visual. And, as somebody who is often found saying, I'm not visual, which is such a silly thing to say. In NLP terms, I'm not primarily visual. That's not my modus operandi. That's not what I go to first. It's obviously auditory. And yet unless we're blind and we can't see, and even then I suppose we can see in our head, it affects us. We see things, we have reactions to them. Equally, other people have reactions to us. And for anybody listening now who's thinking, oh, I need to make a bigger impact, it is about how other people see you. You can't control it, but you can help them. You can help them to see you. And I think the thing that Hela has just said, and I appreciate this, Hela, is to feel comfortable, to know your own style, discover it if you need to, so that you can present yourself with more confidence. Is that really the effect? And then people see that and they're buying the confidence? Is that what happens?
Well, I think it is. I mean, it's how people deportment, how they carry themselves, how you walk into a room. And it's also, there's that phrase, looking good, feeling good, and you radiate something. Therefore, people gravitate to you more. One of our core values within Sister Snog, but we also, are inspired. This was inspired by Seth Godin's book, Purple Cow, which is another one. If you haven't read it, read it. It's a quick read, but it talks about being remarkable. And what does it take to be remarkable? They talk about, well, he talks about a field of, black and white Frisians, and then one of them's purple, and you'll be drawn to that. And if everybody, take, for example, an event, and I'm using the word networking, even though I'm allergic to it, I prefer connecting, but we all go to events and we're looking to meet people. And it's a room full of strangers. Who do you gravitate to? Do you gravitate to the people that are all wearing blue or navy or black, or is there somebody who's in stripes or has got a little, clearly a wonderful handbag or a talking point? You don't have to be Ronald McDonald when you go, but you do need to think a bit carefully, because there is the negative aspect of style, which is, shoes that are not really polished very nicely, and, even sort of personal grooming. And we're going into a strange world, but I notice people's hands and their nails, and are their hands kind of, are they worker hands? Are they those? I remember my daughter saying that she always has liked my hands because I like to do crafty things. So they're very sort of nimble, funny little hands. but they're worker hands. And I think it's interesting because if you want to be a leader, for some reason, there needs to be some reason that people remember you. How do we stand out? Whether that's, online, whether that's in person, what is that little something? I talk about Sister Snog. We always want to leave a hint of perfume on the pillow and a flurry of chiffon in the corridor. I think we should all do that as leaders.
Even the men. I mean, why not? This, like you say, it's feminine energy, not male, female. That is brilliant. And that's, I'm sorry to say we have to wrap up, but that's a great way to wrap up because you've just talked about putting a bit of thought into it. And that's what the thoughtful leader does. That's what I enjoy seeing people do, is put that extra thought into something, not just carry on the way they have for 25 years, not just, take the latest trend and follow it blindly. No, put the thought in. And maybe engage the help of somebody who's an expert in this style business, and follow Hela. Now I've said it 3 times, so you can get inspired. You're not going to copy her. No one else is ever going to be Hela. But yes, the inimitable Hela Wozniak-Kay, thank you so much, so much for being with us today on the Thoughtful Leader podcast.
Thank you, Mindy. It's been a total joy.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Thoughtful Leader, and I hope it's inspired you to be more thoughtful as a leader in your business. Please consider subscribing and leaving a review. An important question for you. Do you want to create a culture of thought leadership in your organization? My best-selling book, The Thoughtful Leader, is available now on Amazon and many other sites in paperback, ebook, and audiobook formats. Please visit www.mindygk.com for more great content. That's www.mindygk.com. Speak to you again soon.